For the next two election cycles, that's 2022 and 2024, don't be fooled. Biden isn't the problem. Well, he is a problem, but he's not the problem. The problem is the Democrat Party. Let's talk about it. Hello, everyone. This is Keith. Welcome to the Ghetto Sapien channel, your home of inner city intelligence. So, we need. All right. The way to fix the problem, I think that's we've been going down. This country's been heading in the wrong direction. I think a lot of this can be fixed if we just stop voting for personalities and just look at the policies. Look and see the results of those policies. Forget the personalities, because that's how we got where we are right now. We're looking at who likes us, who seems the most friendly, not the results of their policies. We've had we got Biden right now. He's a disaster, but the Democrats are gonna jettison him. They're gonna kick him to the side. I think after the midterms, depending on how disastrous they are. So, and they're going to present the next guy as not Joe Biden. But the problem isn't Joe Biden, like I said. The problem is their policies and what they're pushing. Biden has been an unmitigated disaster, but you know why? It's because he has been following the Democrat rule book and Democrat policies, and there's been nothing containing him whatsoever. So what you see in the blue cities, when there's nothing to stop Democrats from doing whatever they do for decades, that's what's now being spread across the nation because there's no containment for them anymore. Biden doesn't look at the polls. He just does whatever his handlers tell him to do, whatever he feels he needs to do, but it's whatever the Democrats would do. Replace him with the Democrat, you'll get the same freaking thing if they follow the same policies. We got to get away from personalities and get back to looking at policy. You don't hire a plumber because you like him. He seems like a nice guy. You have a beer with him. You hire him because you've heard he does a good job. He has a record of doing a good job. He has a record of results. So that's how we need to elect presidents. Because, you had Trump, 4 years of Trump. Overall, good policies. I think he did a good job. People can argue he had a bad personality. I won't argue that. There are some things, that he did that people may not like. But who cares? Who cares? That shouldn't be a big deal. But they fired him, at least supposedly. I have questions about that, but that's for another podcast. Then you get Joe Biden. He's been presented as this grandfatherly, nice guy who'll bring us back to normalcy. And everyone ignored his policies because he had 50 years of a track record that people just ignored, right? So now we got Biden, who's installed in office. Then what do you got? A disaster, a dumpster fire of an economy, and things are getting worse. He can't improve because he's 80 years old. 80-year-old people, especially corrupt, inept morons, don't get better with time. Things get worse, and it's being shown in the polls, right? He's going down. Doesn't seem to care. But at least you got good policy, right? Well, at least you got a good personality. No, you didn't get that either. So you didn't get your good personality or your good policy because you hated the other guy's personality so much it overwhelmed everything else. Because Biden is not the nicest person on the planet, and he showed that whenever he was out of his basement in 2016. He personally insulted voters. He told voters, don't vote for me if you don't like what I'm doing. He called a guy fat. He poked his finger in another guy's face and you don't work for me. He wished half the country a dark winter of death. How much of a worse effing personality can you get than that? He's wishing the country, that something horrible happened to them just because they don't want to take a vaccine that was experimental, right? So you don't get worse personalities than that. And as an added bonus, we got the most effed up policies on the planet. And that's what I'm talking about. Again, it's his policies. It's not just him. But I think this whole thing, this emphasis on personalities, as far back as I can remember, it started around the Bush era when the press had a poll as to who would, you most likely want to have a beer with. It's between, I think, Kerry and Bush that came out when it was Bush versus Gore. That question was asked. It's just a stupid question for adults to even listen to. What's the chances of you ever having a beer with the president? Zero, right? So that question just is irrelevant as to whether you'd like to have a beer with the guy or not. What are his policies? What's his track record? Has he done anything helpful or helped the country? Has his policies had good effects or bad effects? That's what you should be looking at, not whether you like the guy or not, because you're never going to meet him anyway. Doesn't really matter at all. But I think that's where it started, with that stupid "would you have a beer with the guy" question. Just it placed our emphasis on the wrong thing. And really, when you think about it again, the stuff that Biden's doing, no one can pull it off anywhere. Doesn't matter if you like his personality or not. No president and no party could transition the largest economy on the planet over from a petroleum-based economy over to renewable energy economy. Doesn't make any sense. I mean, what? Name a country, an advanced country with a pretty robust economy that relies primarily on wind and solar power. It doesn't exist. This is just a wish that the Democrats wanted, and they forced it on us without even checking to see what they're transitioning us to. So it doesn't matter if Biden was the president or de Blasio is president, God forbid, or Bernie or Hillary. If they tried this, it would fail. That's why we got to, again, concentrate on policy and not on personality. It doesn't really matter. And all of the other failed policies that Biden has been pushing, they're all agreed to by the Democrats. Is there a Democrat that's coming out against open borders right now? Is there a Democrat that's coming out against our energy policy? Is there a Democrat coming out who's against, say, CRT being taught in the schools? No, they walk in lockstep. They were all pro mandates when that came out. I didn't see one Democrat screaming for bodily autonomy. So it wouldn't matter if it was Biden or Hillary. You get the same thing. So you got to get away from voting for personalities. And when you go to the voting booth, get those stars out of your eyes. Stop thinking whether it's going to be mean tweets or a nice grandfather. What do they got? What are they bringing to the table? You have got to see. Now you can't say you don't know. You've seen what Trump could do with no experience and not even much help from his own party. And you see what Biden has done. So it's no longer theoretical. You can actually see and compare policy. That is what matters. Policy matters, right? And look, I'm not saying that the Republicans are all that great either. But what I want to see during the next debate, that I think that would just let you know everything you need to know about the Democrats or even Republicans. For the next primary debate, just ask one question. It's a very important question. Ask each candidate, how many genders are there? That'll tell you much more about their personality and their policies and their ideology than anything else. You go from there. But like I said, right now, unfortunately, we have a binary choice between Republicans and Democrats. I think Republicans suck for the most part. Democrats, I think, are just almost off the table for me. Not almost. I just won't vote for any at this point. The Republicans are weak. The party leaders, the voters, I think they really want tougher Republicans. Hopefully we kind of get that. But for now, between the two of them, I'll take the party that's going to do the least amount of harm until I can get the party that'll just leave me the freak alone. But that's my opinion. What's yours? Like, share, comment, and subscribe.